Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I'm Jordan Gata, the community manager here at Renegade. Today we have a very exciting interview planned. As we all know, My Little Pony Adventures in Equestria is coming very soon here. And if you'll look who I'm on with, many of you will recognize this face. Christopher Chung, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself and how you're associated with this exciting game that's coming up.
Thanks, Jordan. I'm Chris. I am the lead designer and developer of the My Little Pony Adventures Equestria deck building game. So I'm pretty excited.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. So to kick it off, we're just going to be going through an interview talking about this game. We want to share some more information on it. We know a lot of people are excited. We're very excited. So now, thankfully, is the best time, and that time is to share more information and just dive into the details. So to kick it off, is this game co-op or competitive? Because we have, many deck builders, and we have a couple on each side of that spectrum.
Because friendship is magic in the My Little Pony universe, this game is 100% co-op. You can play this solo, as it does say it's 1 to 4 players in the box. So if you're a solo player, you definitely can take it on yourself. But this is a fully cooperative game because we want our heroines to reach the end and get their goals.
Excellent. Awesome. And how easy is it to play? Like what age range would you say it's at?
It does say 13 plus on the box, but if your kids already play games like Catan or King of Tokyo, they can probably pick this up pretty quickly. And if your kids especially have played the G.I. Joe deck building game, Transformers, Power Rangers, My Little Pony definitely fits within those parameters as well, and they share some similarities. Since you're actually working together, you can also see what are cards you have in each other's hands. You can suggest plays to your teammates, and you're all working towards victory together. So it's much more easier on the brain.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Perfect. And then what was your favorite part of working on Adventures in Equestria?
So for me, because spoiler alert, I'm a brony. Okay, is definitely the amazing opportunity I have with working with an IP that's I a license that I definitely have a fanship for and be able
Right.
to bring that to life. And so seeing how players interact with the characters, you have all the main 6 characters you can play with, Twilight Sparkle, Rainbow Dash, the fan favorites. Um, Seeing them interact as the ponies themselves and having their characters come to life through this game is a pretty crazy surreal experience.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I mean, as somebody who's a fan of games myself, and I'm sure you can relate to this, art is so important. So, as a fan of the IP, as you've said, I'm sure that hits home even harder. So, what was your favorite bit of card art from the game?
So for me, because I've watched a lot of the season 1 episodes over and over again, I'm reminded of the time when Applejack had to face off against her nemesis Flim and Flam, the evil twins who wanted to monopolize the My Little Pony, um, the Ponyville bits, as it were, because they're greedy monopolists, right? They want to be able to make as much money as possible, so they're always thinking of get rich quick schemes. So Fresh Cider is a card in the game, and it's a picture of Applejack holding a mug of apple cider, and she's basically giving a cheers to the audience and the other ponies for a job well done. But this episode came when Flim and Flam were trying to um, get all the money that the Apple family were raising through the sales of apple cider, and so they invented a super speedy cider squeezy 6000 as a contraption to effectively make the cider production faster. But it ultimately failed because um, the Milo ponies always win, right? So each pony usually has a friendship lesson that they share with both Princess Celestia and the audience to learn. And um, the lesson that Applejack learned from this episode is in her best Southern drawl. She said, "Dear Princess Celestia, I wanted to share my thoughts with you. I didn't learn anything. Ha! I was right all along." So it was a very much like you're caught off guard by that. Normally, there's a friendship report that the ponies did learn, but she
Right.
knew it all along.
That's awesome. I love that. So, along those same lines with developing the game, in contrast to the art, what was your favorite game mechanic?
So for me, a lot of deck builders I like also have a evolving market in the game to buy cards. And this is especially highlighted in the My Little Pony deck building game because we're working with an adventure row that has a whole bunch of cards, like situations, which are bad cards eventually, but you have good and powerful cards like your allies and your artifact cards. So I really like the simplicity of a just a 6 card row. You're buying as many cards or gaining cards as much as possible and filtering them into your deck. But if no one interacts with the adventure row for a turn, the oldest card in the row drops off. So you're always working with an evolving market, and that keeps everyone's suspense in the game because they're always anticipating what can come next, whether it's good or bad.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, that sounds like a fun mechanic. And sort of on this same topic, what was your favorite card interaction with the game?
So for me, I love the relationship between Rarity and Spike. It's no surprise that Spike has a crush on Rarity in the show, and so Rarity calls him his her spiky wikey, and that was always such a, a nice relationship moment to be had. Rarity has a pet cat named Opalescence, and like most cats do, they don't really get along with other people other than their owners. And so sometimes Rarity as well. Sometimes Rarity got on her nerves. But the relationship between Rarity, Spike, and Opalescence is probably one of the most powerful combos in the game. Hopefully that was an intentional move for sure. So with Opalescence, her ability allows Rarity, if you're playing as Rarity, to look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You can discard them, you can rearrange them and put them back, whatever you like. But if Rarity decides to discard any cards from what she revealed through Opalescence, Spike can help by drawing the next 2 cards. So that means you could actually get rid of 2 cards that you don't probably want for your next turn and
Hmm.
maybe get a chance to get something good through Spike. So by that, you're like ultimately saving yourself a turn to get at
Yeah.
those good cards. And so yeah,
Interesting.
it definitely works out for all three.
Interesting. Yeah, I love that. I love interesting card interactions in games. I think that that really adds a whole other layer of strategy. So it's great to hear that that's going to be present here. And sort of verging into a different topic, we all know it's so important for developers of games to be fans of the game and the IP themselves. So you mentioned that you are yourself a brony. That's fantastic to hear. I love that. What is your favorite thing about My Little Pony?
So for me, My Little Pony is definitely a show that transcends barriers. For me, I thought that it was a kids show. It was, for lack of a better term, I thought it was a girl show. I grew up as a fan of Cartoon Network, Samurai Jack, and Dexter's Lab were probably one of my 2 of my favorite shows growing up.
Me
And so
too.
I knew that Power exactly right. I knew that Power Rangers was definitely like before that, it was Power Rangers and Beast Wars, and I'm a Canadian kid, so Reboot. If anyone is a fan of Reboot, shout out to you. But for those shows, they're primarily directed towards boys, and sometimes I watch Powerpuff Girls because they just kick butt, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Um, when I learned that Tara Strong, who voiced Bubbles in my Powerpuff Girls, she was the voice of Twilight Sparkle for My Little Pony. I was like, oh, I'm a big fan of Bubbles. Maybe she carries that characteristic with her to this new show. And I started seeing a whole bunch of references in my socials. I started seeing a whole bunch of memes, and I was like, huh, maybe this show is more popular than I think it was going to be. When I saw the first episode, I was hooked. I was like, okay, I can see why the show is popular as it is, and started to get into the fanship a little bit more. And just like watching through all the seasons, I'm still stuck on season 9, so I have a little way to go before I finish it. I love how each pony definitely gets their own screen time. They stand out as their own personality and character, and you can really see it in their mannerisms. So like you see Rainbow Dash being the whole macho, daring um, pony that she is, but you start to see the the character within her, as she's definitely someone who you can trust. You can see in Pinkie Pie, she's the flamboyant party character, but you also see a sad side of her. So there's really a lot of like interesting complications towards the character,
Hmm,
and they all become their own focus rather than it just being a show that revolves around Twilight Sparkle.
I
And
see.
then I love the non-sequitur moments that the show may offer, especially Discord. Discord and John Delancey, he just brings a whole dimension of new like jokes that you come out from left field. So it's a really fun show at the core of it, and I love that I can be able to show my fanship to this game.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't gotten the chance to watch it myself yet, but I'm actually now looking forward to it because, as you said, I think at face value there are misconceptions that it is a kids show or it is just a show for girls. But after working on it with people like you, I've been told that it is such a fantastic character-driven show, and it makes me really want to watch it now. So I love that. And now, sort of jumping back over to the game, what were some challenges that you encountered while developing the game?
For us as a team, is definitely keeping the game as simple as we can, but still focus within the gamer and how the card interactions work. So we took inspiration from Transformers, Power Rangers, and GI Joe about card interactions and gameplay that way. But growing up, I also played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh. So one of the things that Yu-Gi-Oh is known for is to have cards that have paragraphs of card effects. And so I
Yes.
didn't want that for the game, but we wanted to make sure that the cards felt um, uh, easy to play with, as well as still felt interesting. And we also wanted to represent a lot of the show as well, because card effects should feel like they are what they are in the show. So, for example, with Fluttershy, her starting card in her deck is called Sharing Kindness, and that goes along with the theme show as well, theme song as well. Her ability for Sharing Kindness is that you can pay two less help to buy your next pet this turn. And that feels like Fluttershy because she's the animal specialist and she loves to help all animals if she can.
Hmm.
So it feels like you grab a lot of pet cards for her deck, and then you can start helping your teammates as well. So sometimes it's a matter of taking the show's inspiration and then building cards that feel like they're representative, as well as keeping it as simple as possible and fit within a standard card size, because that's also a challenge as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's so fantastic to hear that you are thinking along those lines because I think a lot of gamers, just speaking from that perspective, really want that sort of symbiosis between the brand and the lore, I guess you could say, and the actual game itself. So that is fantastic to hear. And what are some highlights of this game that you would like to share with everybody?
So if you've seen our playthrough of the game that I did at Guild House a while back, what we did was we wanted to beat out the timer of the clouds. The clouds are the antagonist of the game. You get too many in the final challenge, you lose the game as a team. So you definitely
Hmm.
want to quell as many clouds as you can. But with the show, there are a few allies that the group has in Gilda and Trixie. They start out as antagonists, and then they start seeing the message of friendship through their adventures, and so they turn out into pretty good guys now. But when you play the game, their cards will provide clouds when you play them, and clouds are bad. You don't want them. So when you play them, you kind of have to outweigh the good versus the bad in playing them. You might want to hold on to them because they have powerful effects. But when you do play them, if they give you clouds, that might be a bad thing as well.
Hmm.
So this deck builder is leading it in such a way that you don't have to play all the cards in your hand when you're dealt, and that's really good. So you can hold on to them if they're not going to be beneficial for you in that term.
Interesting.
Yeah, and as well as the powerful effects that they have, the more costly they are. So, for example, Princess Celestia. you kind of have to think about what her benefit is and how much uh, effort you're willing to pay for. So she costs 9 help, and she's the most expensive card in the game. Is it worth going for her because she can get rid of clouds, but she also provides all 3 resources? There's a whole bunch of things you have to think about in the long-term goals that you want to build your deck with, as well as what you need to do now, or do you wait to save up for those kind of cards? So yeah.
Interesting. That sounds fantastic. And you sound like you're very experienced with games in general. So, what other games have you designed that our viewers might know?
Yeah, so I worked with Renegade Game Studios on Lanterns to Harvest Festival and Spell Smashers. So I'm, I guess, a Renegade veteran, but hopefully they'll be able to play those because they're really cool experiences on their own.
Yeah, those are fantastic games. Awesome. Well, with summer coming up, it's exciting times. We have a lot of conventions coming. So, where might convention goers find My Little Pony Adventures in Equestria?
Mhm. So I'll have a copy with me at Breakout Con, my hometown in Toronto in July. So 2 weeks from now, there'll be a convention and it'll be shown to the public. So I'm really excited about that. But it'll just be for demo. It won't be for sale, unfortunately. Um, and then early copies will be sold at Gen Con. So that's also at the end of July. So we're very excited about that.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Cool, cool. Well, then I have one last question for you. Are there any fun stories that you would like to share that you had while developing this game?
Mhm. So funny enough, I learned about the relationship between Hasbro and Renegade Games Studios through an announcement, and it was a press release. I was really taken aback by it because this is really exciting. Renegade Game Studios, a fantastic company, working with an equally fantastic company in producing these awesome shows. So I saw the GI Joe announcement, Power Rangers, Transformers, and then boom, My Little Pony. And for me, I was like, okay, I see how this may go. So when there was an announcement of a role-playing game as well as a deck building game, I was like, oh, maybe there's a chance I could work on the deck building game because, they may be looking for a team for that. So even if there wasn't a chance, I'd still be excited by the prospect of Renegade having these Hasbro to work with because the more Renegade games there are in the world, the better chance there are better games in the world, right? So fast forward a few months later, I was approached by Dan about a potential project that could use a little help. And so when we were talking over my terrible internet connection, uh, he revealed that it was regarding the My Little Pony deck building game. And I kept it cool outside, but inside I was internally freaking out because not only was I going to be signing up to work with a team that I'm familiar with, absolutely wonderful people in there, but also the chance to deliver a game that kind of speaks to a license I love, show that's loved by millions around the world, and to deliver a great experience for them with gamers as well. I couldn't say no. And I was talking to Jimmy and well Dan, and I told Dan later that I was a fan of My Little Pony, and he didn't realize that when we were both speaking at first. So it was very cool to have that happen.
Awesome. That sounds awesome. I mean, it's so clear and plain to see that you are passionate about this. So that is fantastic. I think that's going to speak volumes when this game comes out, and people will be able to feel that passion through the gameplay. So I particularly am very excited for this. I know plenty of other people are. I see them talking about it all day in the communities. So, speaking of, if you'd like to join our Discord, that is the best place to get first look news. We're going to be posting spoilers for the game. Chris is also on that Discord himself. So yeah, come on over there, hang out with us if you like. Christopher, thank you so much for your time. I think that this game is going to be awesome. You are an awesome person, and I'm very excited for everything coming.
Thanks, Gordon. It was exciting being here.
Thanks.